Hi there, welcome back to AutoNet. Today I want to go over a little bit of how you can add some custom functionality to your map interaction. I've seen this referred to as feature actions. In this case here I'm calling them map actions. I've also called them behaviors in the past. But basically what it lets you do is be able to go ahead and do something with the interaction of your map. So in this case here, I want to hold down my mouse and then do something. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do some reverse geocoding. So hold my mouse down, do some reverse geocoding. This is pretty interesting if you're working with a mobile device and you want to let users hold their fingers down on the map and then do something with it. So it doesn't have to be reverse geocoding. It could be like maybe buffer geometry and then go select some data. That could be an interesting use case as well. But I'm basically just going to show you how to do reverse geocoding here. And you'll notice I'm not using the search widget at all, but I am going to be utilizing the search view model to do this. So let's take a look at this. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a module called map action. Now, you don't have to necessarily do it the way I do it. I'm just going to show you an example how it can be done, and you could probably completely simplify this to do it how you want to do your own thing. But basically here what I'm doing is I'm creating a abstract class called map action. Now, why is it an abstract class, you might ask? Because I felt like it. That's why. And if you're not familiar with an abstract class, basically that is a class that cannot be instantiated on its own. It always has to be extended. So I could never say action is equal to new map action. It always has to have another class extend it and then just provide some functionality under the hood um, for that class to be able to utilize, right? So it's going to extend accessor because I'm going to have a property called value that I want to be able to watch for changes. And it's just going to be a generic type. So any generic that I feed to the map action, that's what the value is going to be. And basically what I have here is an array of handlers, which are going to contain the results, the watch handler, for everything that I watch in this map action class. In this case here, what I'm doing is I have a subscribe method that is going to take a callback. That callback is going to return the value when the value is updated. So I create a watch on the value, and I have a callback that's just going to go ahead and get fired whenever this value changes. This is going to let the user of this action um, be able to subscribe to the whenever the results change based on whatever my action is supposed to do. And then I have an unsubscribe as well that's going to be able to just completely unsubscribe from the actions, and you'd use this for any cleanup of your application, so you can just make sure everything's nice and tidy when you're done with it. How do I use this map action? So I'm going to create another module here called reverse geocode. And in this reverse geocode, I'm going to go ahead and have a class called reverse geocode. It's going to extend my map action. Remember, you can only extend them. And the generic type is going to be a search view model result. So in this case here, I'm going to have a view that is an alias of the view model view. And I've got my view model here, which I instantiate right away when you create the class or when you instantiate the class. And in my constructor, what I'm going to do is I have a method called reverse geocode, and I have to do a bind on this here because the way I'm using it. I was trying to get around that, but that's all right. It's fine. No big deal. And what I'm going to do is that when the view changes, I'm going to create a new handle on the view using view.on, and I'm going to watch for the hold event to happen. Now, when the hold event happens, it's going to be an enhanced mouse event that gets returned, and that's going to contain a map point on it. So whenever I hold down on the map, it's going to call this reverse geocode method. So what does this reverse geocode method? Well, it's going to take my map point that's going to come out of my event, and I'm going to go ahead and use the view model's search method to search on that map point. Now what happens when I do that? So let's go ahead and look at the search view model doc. You have a search takes a search term. Now what does that search term do? It takes a string, geometry, suggest result, or number. Array, it takes a two array numbers. Blah, 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 blah. It takes an array of numbers that can be your lat long coordinates, right? If you supply that to the uh, search method here. And it tells you here the search term can be a string, geometry, suggesting kind of object or array of lat longs. If a geometry is supplied, then it will reverse geocode or find address candidates with geometry instead of text, right? So basically that's what we want to do. We want to reverse geocode by providing a geometry. So let's come over here. And because of the way that the search view model works, we can have multiple sources. So that basically means I could add more custom locators to the search that maybe I want to use for my results, as well as maybe some feature layers as well. I've got to make sure that I'm getting results where I want my results, right? So that's what this little checker here does. I'm basically checking that I'm getting the correct results from the source that I want my results from. In this case here, I just want the default results from the first source index. So once I do that, I'm going to get my result from there, and then I'm just going to update the value. Now, what's interesting to note is that when you use the search method on the search view model, it will automatically interact with the view and center the view to your location or the location of the result, and then bring up the pop-up, which is really neat. So how do I use this reverse geocode now? So I create this method here called apply action. And the apply action basically just lets me go ahead and create my action by saying new reverse geocode. I'm going to pass the view, which you give to the apply action method. Then I'm going to return that action. And that lets me do something pretty neat here, like this I call apply action on my view. And then I subscribe to that action. I get my result. And I'm just going to console.log that result out. I'm not doing anything fancy here with my result, but I just want to show how you might be able to do something with it. So that is what lets me go ahead and navigate around, hold down on my map view, and then get my result, and I can console.log that out. So I get the extent for my result, and I get the feature that was the result returned from search. So I've got my address in here along with some other information, and I got the geometry, and so on. And we got the name here, which is the result name, and then the index it came from. In this case here, I just care about the default one, which is 0, the world geometry locator. All right, so that's how you can add some nice extended functionality to interact with your map in your applications. And like I say, you don't necessarily have to do it the way that I did it, but I just wanted to show you a way that you could do it. All right, thank you.